Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Defense Logistics Agency Change of Responsibility and Retirement Ceremony. Vice Admiral Michelle C. Skubic, Director of the Defense Logistics Agency, will relinquish her position to Army Lieutenant General Mark T. Simerly and retire from the United States Navy after 35 years of dedicated and faithful service to our nation. The presiding official for today's ceremony is the Honorable Christopher J. Lohman, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Sustainment. I'm Kathy Rem, DLA's Deputy Director for Public Affairs and your MC for today's event. At this time, we would like to recognize several family members we have with us today from Vice Admiral Skubic's family, her stepmother, Mrs. Karen Coyne, daughter, Ms. Chantal Skubic, and son, Mr. Jake Skubic, her sister, Mrs. Christina Fenters, with her husband, retired Navy Commander Virgil Fenters, and their son, Jack, her brothers, Mr. Stephen Coyne and Mr. Bill Carr, with nephew, Mr. Ryan Carr, cousins, Ms. Denise James, Dr. Kamala Rising, retired Commander Matt Rising, and Ms. Heather Ryan. Joining us from Lieutenant General Simerly's family are his wife, Mrs. Cindy Simerly, son, Army Second Lieutenant Luke Simerly, and daughter, Ms. Allison Simerly, along with her fiancé, Mr. Eric Moore. Mrs. Simerly's brother, Mr. Skip Eckenrod, and his wife, Mrs. Kathy Eckenrod. General Simerly's sisters, Mrs. Pamela Strobel, here with her sons, Mr. Daniel Strobel, Mr. David Strobel, and Army First Lieutenant Samuel Strobel. Mrs. Katie Wilkie with her husband, Mr. David Wilkie, and his nephews, Mr. Justin Felberg, with his partner, Ms. Amelia Schatz, and Mr. Mitchell Felberg, along with his wife, Ms. Elizabeth Felberg, and their two young daughters, Avery and Sophie. We also offer a special welcome to the Honorable William LaPlante, Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, Honorable Alan Estevez, Undersecretary of Commerce for Industry and Security, and his wife, Ms. Susan Pearson, Honorable Ellen Lord, former Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, and Honorable Rhoda Plum, Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, the Honorable W. Jordan Gillis, former Assistant Secretary of Defense for Sustainment, and retired Navy Admiral Cecil Haney, former Commander of U.S. Strategic Command. To all of these distinguished visitors, former Defense Logistics Agency directors, general and flag officers, senior executive service members, family and friends, and members of the DLA team, welcome. Bosun, post the side boys. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the rendering of honors, playing of the national anthem by the Navy Brass Quintet, presentation of colors by the Navy Color Guard, and invocation delivered by DLA Chaplain Army Colonel Thomas Brooks. Bosun, prepare to bring aboard the official party. Lieutenant General, United States Army, arriving. Defense Logistics Agency, arriving. The Honorable Lohman has deferred honors to Vice Admiral Skubic for today's ceremony. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Sustainment arriving. Bosun, post the side buoys. Advance the colors.
Present arms. Shoulder arms.
Retire the colors.
Coach, colors turn. March.
DLA Chaplain Thomas Brooks will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. Our God, we come before you grateful for the leaders you've blessed us with. We thank you for Vice Admiral Skubic's leadership of DLA as director for more than 3.5 years and the extremely positive impact she had in the midst of significant world events and challenging mission sets. May we each follow the example of starting well and finishing well the race you set before us. In her case, a race, a marathon with unexpected sprints and with unexpected miles added to the end. We thank you for the vision, motivation, and focus she provided to the DLA team and for the positive imprint she leaves upon the organization and its people. We ask for your continued blessing on her and her family and loved ones as she enjoys retirement. We also pray for Lieutenant General Simerly and his family as he assumes the mantle of DLA Director. Grant him wisdom in the face of unusual challenges, synergy with his team, and fulfilling years of leading DLA for the ultimate benefit of the warfighters we serve. It's in your blessed name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you to the Navy Color Guard, Brass Quintet, and Chaplain Brooks. Before moving forward with today's event, we'd like to thank our honorary side boys. They're Rear Admiral Doug Noble, Rear Admiral Grafton Chase, Major General Bowman Bowles, Rear Admiral Kristen Acquavella, Brigadier General Sean Tyler, Brigadier General Gail Atkins, Brigadier General Landis Maddox, Rear Admiral Select Brian Anderson, and Rear Admiral Julie Traynor. It's now my privilege to introduce our presiding official, the Honorable Christopher J. Lohman, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Sustainment.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, come on. I see sailors and Marines and airmen, soldiers. Good morning, everybody. Right, that's better. That's the joint logistics enterprise that I'm proud of, proud to be part of. So what a great day. It's a great day to be here at DLA headquarters, really to celebrate two very special traditions that we have here in the Department of Defense. And that is one, the formal transfer of responsibility from one leader to the next, recognizing that transfer, recognizing the outgoing leader's accomplishments, and looking forward to the incoming leader's leadership and acumen. The second one is really special, and it is the formal recognition of 30 years of dedicated service to the nation, and that is in the retirement of Vice Admiral Skubic. And so both of these traditions are proud ones in our department and are ones that we enjoy. And so thank you so much for your participation with us today. So with that, we'll get started. Thank you for joining me today, and it is my distinct honor as the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Sustainment to stand before you to celebrate, as I mentioned, two significant milestones: the change of responsibility for Director of Defense Logistics Agency and the well-deserved retirement for Vice Admiral Michelle Skubic. After 3 decades of exemplary service, I want to also extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guests, Honorable LaPlante, Honorable Estevez, Honorable Lord, Honorable Plum, Honorable Gillis, Admiral Haney, and all the general officers and flag officers and SESs present today. This is like the who's who of the acquisition and sustainment community. Your presence here today underscores the magnitude of this occasion and the important role that DLA plays ensuring sustainment of our joint force and the interagency. I would also like to echo the welcome to members of Vice Admiral Skubic's family who are also with us today. Stepmother Karen Coyne, your daughter Chantal and son Jake, brothers Stephen and Bill, sister Christina, and her husband, retired Navy Commander Virgil Fenters, nephews Jack Fenter and Ryan Carr, as well as the extended family members who have traveled here this morning. Welcome, and thanks for coming. Thank you for the lifetime of support and guidance you've provided, Michelle. We recognize and value families in this department and understand that without the love and support from you, we would not be here today to honor her leadership and commitment to our nation. Lieutenant General Mark Simerly and Mrs. Cindy Simerly, congratulations on your promotion yesterday and welcome back to the DLA family. It's been a busy couple of days, but we only have a couple hours left. You could not be coming back to the team at a better time, a time that presents with us with as many opportunities as there are challenges in front of us. DLA's journey over 6 decades has been one of remarkable evolution and service, mirrored by the steadfast commitment and impact of Vice Admiral Skubic. Her tenure as the 20th DLA Director has been marked by profound accomplishment, steering this vital organization through challenging times with resilience and foresight. As Director, Vice Admiral Skubic steered DLA, an organization that's 25,000 strong, through the global COVID-19 pandemic response, rapid retrograde of troops from Afghanistan, national hurricane responses, and currently the continued support to Ukraine in defense of their freedom from Russian aggression. Just to name a few, it's been a busy 3.5 years. For those of you who don't know, DLA is a vast global enterprise spanning 48 states, 28 separate nations, managing and executing over $42 billion annually. The average DLA day, and just to put it in context, the average DLA day includes 92,000 orders, 9.5 million gallons of fuel issued, 35,000 uniform items supplied, 880,000 meals delivered, and 120,000 repair parts dispensed. Wow. It's hard for me to even say that, much less to manage an organization of this magnitude. Assigned in the beginning months of the global COVID-19 pandemic, Vice Admiral Skubic hit the ground running, ensuring DLA supported multifaceted efforts throughout the pandemic, delivering vaccines, millions of test kits, hand sanitizer, masks, gowns, and what it seemed like at the time, billions of gloves. Vice Admiral Skubic's leadership was evident in the agency's response to the presidential directive to execute a full withdrawal of all personnel and capabilities from Afghanistan. This operation included evacuation, temporary holding, and relocation of up to 90,000 Afghans, evacuees eligible for special immigrant visas, supplying emergency commodity orders, blankets, health and comfort packs, coronavirus test kits, and vaccines. In 2022, President Biden signed the Unified Command Plan, realigning global bulk fuel management mission from DLA to Transcom. Vice Admiral Skubic and the team tirelessly worked on seamless transition to Transcom, ultimately providing the warfighter improved fuel management and distribution before and during crisis. Under this change, DLA maintained its expertise in integrated material management, procurement, and storage of bulk fuel. They remain the preeminent manager of bulk petroleum items. And finally, as we speak, DLA continues their global support mission, supporting not only U.S. joint forces deployed globally, but also our allies in Ukraine, providing critical repair parts, equipment, and a host of other needed supplies. DLA is a complex command performing a critical mission for our nation that cannot be ignored or without leadership. This is why we are here today and why we appreciate everyone that's in attendance. These DLA accomplishments reflect the strong and dedicated leadership of Vice Admiral Skubic, skills that have been honed over her 34 years of service. Shortly before graduating from California State University, Michelle spoke with a reserve officer on campus who helped guide her decision to join the Navy. We thank that officer. I couldn't find out his name, but I'm sure he's still out there. Following in the footsteps of her father, Commander Thomas Coyne, who served 20 years as a naval officer, serving multiple tours in Vietnam, and also serving as one of only 75 commanding officers over the last 227 years of the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, which was commissioned in 1797. Now that is Navy tradition. Michelle has had a long and distinguished career serving both in operational assignments and ashore. Her operational assignments include serving on the USS Acadia during Desert Shield and Desert Storm, as supply officer for pre-commissioning on both the guided missile destroyer McFall and the aircraft carrier George H.W. Bush. Michelle's shore time includes commanding officer, NAVSUP Fleet Logistics Center, Norfolk, Chief of Staff, Naval Supply Systems Command, Director, Logistics Fleet Supply and Ordnance, PAC Fleet, Commander, DLA Land and Maritime, Commander, Naval Supply Systems Command, and in a Navy first, the very first female Chief of the Supply Corps, all paving the way to become the Director of DLA. Michelle, your dedication to duty in your country have been exactly what our nation needed. You have continued to carry the torch and take on every challenge presented to you. It has been an honor to work with you as part of the sustainment team and watch your dedication to the warfighter. I wish you the best in retirement. Let's give Michelle a round of applause. Don't worry, you'll get another opportunity. As we bid farewell to Vice Admiral Skubic, a leader of exceptional caliber and commitment, we simultaneously turn a new page in the storied history of the Defense Logistics Agency. Today, we not only celebrate a remarkable career, but also embrace the future under new leadership. Transition in leadership is a time of reflection and anticipation. Reflection on the milestones achieved, and anticipation for the journey ahead. It's a moment to acknowledge the legacy left behind while looking forward with optimism to the opportunities in front of us. In this spirit of transition and continuity, we warmly welcome Lieutenant General Mark Simerly to lead the Defense Logistics Agency. We acknowledge his distinguished military service, marked by leadership, strategic insight, and deep commitment to logistics excellence. Lieutenant General Simerly, previously at the helm of the Combined Armed Support Command and DLA Troop Support, has demonstrated exceptional capability in managing complex logistical operations on a global scale. I can't think of a better leader for an organization as complex as the Defense Logistics Agency. However, while we recognize Lieutenant General Simerly's assumption of responsibility, I would be remiss if we did not also recognize his family here today, to include Cindy, his two children, Second Lieutenant Luke Simerly and daughter Allison, accompanied by her fiancé Eric Moore, and of course, all of the Simerly extended family in attendance are also welcome today. As Lieutenant General Simerly steps into this new role, his proven track record assures us that DLA is in capable hands, ready to meet the evolving challenges of military logistics and sustainment. Lieutenant General Simerly steps into this role at a time when the strategic landscape is rapidly evolving, and the importance of logistics and sustainment in our national defense strategy has never been more pronounced. As we pass the colors from Vice Admiral Skubic to Lieutenant General Simerly, we are witnessing more than a change of leadership. It represents the enduring spirit of dedication and excellence that is the hallmark of DLA. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to everyone present here today and those joining us remotely. Your support and dedication to the mission of DLA and our armed forces is invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would you please come to center stage? The Honorable Lohman will now conduct the change of responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Vice Admiral Skubic and Lieutenant General Simerly, please move to center stage. Command Chief Master Sergeant Alvin R. Dyer, Senior Enlisted Leader of the Defense Logistics Agency, will now come forward with the organizational colors. Command Chief Master Sergeant Dyer will pass the flag to Vice Admiral Skubic, signifying her tenure at the head of this remarkable organization. The passing of the colors from Vice Admiral Skubic to the Honorable Lohman signifies that the Defense Logistics Agency is never without leadership. The passing of the colors from the Honorable Lohman to Lieutenant General Simerly signifies the passing of his trust as he charges General Simerly with responsibility for the organization's mission and the welfare of its personnel. Lieutenant General Simerly will now return the flag to Command Chief Master Sergeant Dyer. Thank you, Honorable Lohman and Vice Admiral Skubic. You may take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct privilege to introduce to you Lieutenant General Mark T. Simerly, Director of the Defense Logistics Agency.
Good morning, everybody. Honorable Lohman, thank you for presiding over today's ceremony and for your gracious remarks. And Cindy and I want to thank all of you for joining us today in person and online, and want to give a special thanks to the many people who've made this ceremony possible. I'm grateful for all the leaders, family, and friends of DLA who've joined us here today. In particular, I'm grateful for the presence of Honorable Estevez, Honorable LaPlante, Honorable Lord, Honorable Plum, and Honorable Gillis, and also Admiral Haney. It's also great to see so many of our DLA directors and their spouses back with us today in this headquarters. To our distinguished guests, General and Flag Officers, members of the Senior Executive Service, senior enlisted leaders, military colleagues, industry partners, and community leaders, DLA team members in the room and across the globe, thank you for your presence at this ceremony today and your support to the women and men of DLA. Please allow me to take a moment to express my gratitude to the entire DLA staff, particularly our stellar protocol team, and everyone involved in the planning and execution of this first-class event. I also want to thank the United States Navy Band for sharing their talents this morning, the United States Navy Color Guard, Chaplain Thomas Brooks, our MC, Ms. Kathy Rame, and to all of our participants, thank you for making this a truly unforgettable ceremony. And finally, I want to thank all the many teammates from across the agency who are responsible for this event. Please join me in applauding their many efforts to make this a special ceremony. I have three themes this morning that I want to share with you, and my first theme is gratitude. To say that today is a high point in my career in the United States Army would be an understatement, and I'm under no illusions that I got here alone. I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to continue to wear this uniform and serve this great nation, and to serve as a career soldier in the tradition of my father and my father-in-law. I'm grateful for the enduring support of my wife, Cindy, for being my best friend, my lifelong partner on this journey in the military, and the loving mother of our two wonderful children, as well as for her support to military family well-being, especially military-connected children, through her work at the Military Child Education Coalition. I'm grateful for our children, Allison and Luke, who make us proud every day as they serve in their own way and have constantly supported Cindy and me. Thank you, Allie and Luke, for your patience and adaptability through many moves over the years and your many sacrifices. This lifestyle asks much of our military children, and I cherish your love and support. I'm grateful for my wonderful family and friends who've stood by us throughout our career. So many have been kind enough to travel here today, as well as the mentorship and friendship of so many leaders and service members who are responsible for my success. I'm grateful for the remarkable leadership of my predecessor, Vice Admiral Michelle Skubic, who skillfully led the agency through more than 40 dynamic months and postured it so well to meet its future responsibilities. Michelle, congratulations on your well-deserved retirement. As the 21st DLA Director, I will do my best to advance the legacy of excellence you and the 19 previous DLA Directors have established and cultivated for more than 62 years in DLA. I'd also like to thank Honorable LaPlante and Honorable Lohman for their confidence in me to support my appointment to this position. I look forward to meeting your intent in the months and years to come. Finally, I'm grateful to return as a member of this outstanding DLA team, composed of over 1,100 service members and almost 24,000 Department of Defense civilians who take exceptional pride in supporting our warfighters and our nation. My second theme is determination. I'm determined to lead DLA in the delivery of secure, resilient, and responsive logistics to enable warfighter readiness and global responsiveness of the joint force. I'm determined to anticipate need and lead change in the face of rapidly evolving requirements in the contested logistics environment, to transform global logistics, deliver readiness and lethality to the warfighter, and support our nation, knowing that victory on every battlefield hinges on logistics. I'm determined to enhance service, industry, and ally and partner interoperability to advance our mutual national defense logistics imperatives and to advance the agency's ability to innovate and integrate data into analytic processes and strategic decision-making. Finally, I'm determined to lead with trust, discipline, and commitment, and to continue to invest in the power of the DLA people and culture, always treating each other with dignity and respect, and optimizing each teammate's potential to learn, develop, and succeed. My final theme is confidence. Confidence in what we'll accomplish in DLA together. To the men and women of DLA, I'm privileged to be back on this team, serving our warfighters and our nation shoulder to shoulder. Together, we'll continue to generate warfighter readiness through enhanced effectiveness, efficiency, and interoperability while we take care of each other and build on the positive can-do DLA culture. I'm confident that we will continue to accomplish the mission. The Department of Defense and our nation are counting on us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm humbled and honored to lead the nation's Combat Logistics Support Agency. As the first DLA director, Lieutenant General Andrew McNamara frequently said, "Let's get going. Warfighter always."
Thank you, General Simerly. Congratulations, sir, and welcome back to the DLA team. General Simerly's wife, Mrs. Cindy Simerly, will now be presented a bouquet of yellow roses on behalf of the DLA team to symbolize friendship and new beginnings. Ma'am, we also welcome you back to the DLA family. Ladies and gentlemen, we've also come together today to celebrate the illustrious career of Vice Admiral Michelle C. Skubic after 35 years of loyal and dedicated service. Would the Honorable Loman and Vice Admiral Skubic please come to center stage? The Honorable Loman will now present Vice Admiral Skubic with the Defense Distinguished Service Medal. Vice Admiral Michelle C. Skubic, United States Navy, is receiving the Defense Distinguished Service Medal for exceptionally meritorious service in a position of great responsibility as Director of the Defense Logistics Agency from July 2020 to February 2024. She led a workforce of 26,000 civilian and military personnel positioned in 48 states and 28 countries and managed a $41 billion enterprise. Under her leadership, DLA surged to meet significant requirements for warfighters globally while continuing to support contingency operations and the COVID-19 pandemic response. Her distinctive accomplishments bring to a close a long and distinguished career in the service of her country and reflect great credit upon herself, the United States Navy, and the Department of Defense. And the award is signed Lloyd J. Austin III, Secretary of Defense. Admiral Skubic has received several commendatory letters, including recognition from the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of the Navy. In the interest of time during today's ceremony, she has elected to only be presented with a letter from the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Lisa Franchetti. In the letter, Admiral Franchetti congratulates Admiral Skubic on a spectacular career in support of the defense of our nation. She goes on to quote President Kennedy, himself a sailor, as saying, "If not us, who? If not now, when? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." She also writes, "Thank you for answering the call and for your service to our Navy and nation. Though your retirement creates a void, you are leaving us in good hands. You have made a difference that will be felt for years through those you've led, trained, and mentored. They are your true legacy." Signed, L.M. Franchetti, Admiral, United States Navy. Honorable Loman will now present Vice Admiral Skubic with her Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States. The certificate reads, "Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Michelle C. Skubic, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Navy on the first day of April 2024. Signed, L.M. Franchetti, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. Thank you, sir. You may take your seat. Vice Admiral Skubic, the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. You know, I was driving in today and I started crying at a country western song. So we're either in really good shape because I got it out of my system, or we are in a hurt locker. Anyway, good morning all. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and I'm daunted by looking around this room. So, you know, thanks for coming from near and in some cases quite far, and in some cases even spending your birthday in the air, flying over the Atlantic. Andy Kite, where are you? UK Vice Admiral Andy Kite, thank you for spending your birthday in the air to be here. And belated happy birthday, and thank you for the teamwork. Much more yet to come. But whoever you are, for whatever reason you're here, thank you for your role, the role you played in both my career, my family's life, and the support for the warfighter always through our mission here at DLA. And I've got to say, this is truly an unimaginable moment, as you can imagine, for a lot of obvious reasons. And then there's also it quite literally took an act of Congress. Those who understand know that I delayed a little bit. I was supposed to leave last August or so. But you know, it was an honor to stay an extra 6 months. I mean, I'd have stayed an extra 6 years and beyond if that's what was needed for the team. That's what teammates do. And you know, I'm reminded that some other leaders in DLA's history, you know, they extended when asked by me in a couple of cases. Jim McClarity's here, Mr. Mack, great to see you in Emerald. You know, he stayed on an extra 6 months when I was taking Land and Maritime because it was good for the team, for that continuity. Mike Scott did the same thing here at DLA when I became the director. Mike's at a U2 concert in Vegas, by the way. But I really appreciated those two leaders being willing to stay on for the team. And I want to thank the team. There's way too many to name. We had 50 people who helped coordinate and participate in today's event and help you all find your parking, whatever. But thank you to each and every one of you for the work you did without the usual planning horizon, mind you. You know, you got to be ready to retire and ready to retire and ready to retire. But thank you. You always pull it off superbly, and you make me so proud. And when I look out here, I see way too many people to name. So again, please know how immensely grateful I am for each and every one of you for how you've influenced me and my career and my family, and how DLA does its mission every single day. You know, there's an amazing crowd of family and friends and colleagues and mentors from the years and bosses and honestly some serious logistics icons in this audience. And so, so forgive me that I just say thank you all for being here and doing what you do so superbly well. And of course, I got to thank the most important person here today, which is none other than Lieutenant General Simerly. No, seriously, Mark, thank you. Thanks for being here. But honestly, you're the right person to step into this role. And congrats to you and your family on the well-deserved promotion after these decades of service to the nation. You are a perfect fit to take the agency into the future with a focus on global resilience, posturing for the fight, and partnering across all these incredible joint logistics enterprise leaders and more, and our international and industry partners. So congrats, number 21. To all my bosses, starting with Honorable Lowen, sir, at least my boss for maybe 5 more minutes. Maybe we're done, right? Are we done? Anyway, thank you for your flexibility, sir, first and foremost, for being willing to combine 2 ceremonies into one. That's kind of a Navy tradition. Not all the services do it that way. And also for allowing us to have a bit of a, combination of traditions, side boys and flag passing and the watch and cake cutting later. But more importantly, sir, you've been a supportive and empowering leader with the right mix of high expectations and DoD organizational prowess to drive impact across our expansive DLA mission. And with the nature of war today, you've heard about it, with it being more complex weapons across all domains, distributed battlefield, a most certainly contested logistics environment. Your vision for a regional sustainment framework will help bolster the integrated deterrence that we need to deter adversaries. And DLA is poised to do its part. So thank you, sir. To other current and prior leaders across the ANS team, Honorable LaPlante, great to see you. Honorable Plum didn't make it, I don't think. Honorable Lord, thank you, ma'am, for being here. Honorable Estevez, you're kind of an alum to this business, aren't you? Thanks for being here. And Admiral Haney, it's great to see you, sir. It's been a while. It's a treat to have you here. And a special shout out to all the many hardworking civilians in the Pentagon who step in time and again to fill those gaps that happen during administrative turnovers and other times. They are often juggling, Secretary Gillis, sorry, missed you. You're across the aisle. Sorry, sir, it's great to see you again. But those civilians who juggle often multiple jobs because there's gaps, but the leadership has to be covered. And there's last names like Cummings and Kausner and Marani and Method and Kramer, and the list goes on. But it was an honor to work with all of you. We always felt like we were rowing in the same direction and always rowing hard. So thank you. The former DLA directors have been mentioned, and I've got to say I have immense gratitude for each and every one of you. It was your shoulders I stood on for the last 3.5 years. And so Admirals Lippert and Thompson and Harnachek and Generals Dale and Williams, thank you, and your spouses and all that are with you here today for being here. But you each left your mark on the positive trajectory of this agency. And to General Williams, just a little extra for you, sir, because I want to say that you were always, first of all, great boss when I was DLA Land and Maritime, but also you were always gracious, even when we were on the opposite side of issues when I was NAVSEP commander. And you proved that no matter what differences we might have, we always have to keep working together. So thank you for that. And I'm glad that you and Myra are leading future Americans at Hampton University now, sir. And then one former director, Lieutenant General Bush, couldn't be here today. He was my boss at aviation, as was Rear Admiral Griffith. Are you here? Hey, thanks, Vince, for being here. But General Bush, he introduced discipline production control at aviation, which I think was masterful. He later chose me to be DLA Land and Maritime, which I think was probably pretty significant to getting here today. And then he was very thoughtful in calling me one day when I was on travel in Lithuania, work travel, and he had heard my dad was seriously ill. And he encouraged me to go home. And that call meant so much. And I went home. And you really don't know when it's going to be the last time. So I'll never forget that gesture. So if you're watching, General Bush, thank you, sir. Anyway, to all the former DLA directors, thank you for paving the way to today's DLA. To the executive board, again, I don't have time to name names. I've seen so many of your faces here. To all our DLA leaders across the executive board, starting with our Vice Director, Brad Bunn, my best hire ever. and all our admirals and generals and senior executives and leaders and you know, the MSCs, the J&D codes, the regional commanders, you're all world class. There's no one better. I admire all of you for passionately supporting not only the Job 1 warfighter around the globe, but also caring deeply and continuing to support our number one strength, our DLA teammates. And I love actually that you challenge each other all the time to be better as a team. It's a healthy competition. To all the side boys here today, I chose all of the flags and generals that are on our DLA team. And you represent the warfighters we serve. You represent the DLA global team that we have and the mission we support day in and day out. And I appreciate that some of you are taking on this Navy tradition for the very first time. Now you're pros, so thank you very much. But we've got J3 covered and J9, our Joint Reserve Force covered, and all the MSCs except for disposition services. And trust me, Mike, I almost asked you to put a uniform on again. I think you would have done it. But, and then I asked a side boy number 8, none other than DLA alum and dear friend, former DLA Indo-PACOM commander, regional commander, Rear Admiral Kristen Aquavella. She rounded out our 8. So Doug, Tripp, Gail, Chip, Sean, Landis, Brian, Kristen, thank you. You also represent the kind of talent that the services continue to send DLA year over year. Thank goodness. So services, thank you. Keep it up. Keep it up. And then to Rear Admiral Noble and Rear Admiral Chase and Brigadier General Tyler, I wish you all Godspeed and my gratitude for your service to our nation as you face your upcoming retirements later this year. How about a round of applause for them? I appreciate all the joint and coalition leaders across our logistics enterprise. We often call it the JLENT. You know, the joint staff folks, thank you for being here. OSD, combatant commands, international partners. I think we have enough to hold a JLB, sir. We must move with speed to get after solutions that exploit our collective capabilities and our core competencies, and lean into logistics solutions together, and train and exercise together, and innovate and collaborate, and keep thinking ahead together so that we can outthink and outperform our adversaries. Bottom line, we are always better together. So to my dear DLA shipmates, as I call it, the teammates around the globe, what an amazing few years we've had, and perhaps indeed the most intense and demanding in our 62-year history. To borrow some Navy jargon, we faced incredible headwinds and tumultuous seas together. And no matter what role you play in our agency, one of those 1,000+ military members, active guard reserve, or those amazing, talented civilians, 25,000+, who, by the way, 45% of them have worn the cloth of our nation. No matter what role you play, you've been amazing, and we have weathered quite a storm together. And we've preserved our unwavering, unrelenting focus on the warfighter. And you know, much of what you do every day is not memorialized, and yet it is so worthy to be so. So I'm gonna just step back a couple of years. I've got to say it felt a little bit like divine intervention when I was brought back to DLA. That and Secretary Lord. So Honorable Lord, thank you for choosing me for the opportunity of a career, of a lifetime, honestly, leading this national treasure of a team. And also thank you for your insights on my next phase. Appreciate that. By the time I had reported, we were already a few months into COVID-19, and my predecessor, Lieutenant General Williams, and this amazing leadership team had already spun up to work virtually. Those numbers Secretary Lohman mentioned, that now had to happen 100% from the virtual environment. That is for those who actually could operate in the virtual environment, which is about 2/3 of this workforce. And of course, the other frontline heroes in the disposition yards and the document services and the distribution centers, they didn't have a choice. We made some tweaks to keep the team as safe as we possibly could, but they had to keep coming in and keep charging. And I'm grateful for every one of those folks. But this team really pulled through. And I've got to say, my previous DLA tours gave me a running start in understanding our organization, our global footprint, how our customers are structured around the globe, our IT systems, our amazing automated procurement finesse, and more. And I am so glad that I had an appreciation and understanding of all of that already. Can you imagine learning all of that on Zoom? Anyway, I've seen challenges and opportunities face this agency day in and day out, and it happens at a pace that would make your head spin. I am not going to repeat the many accomplishments and focus areas that DLA has had over the last 3.5 years. You know, you heard about them. They're just going to keep coming, folks, right? The demands are going to keep presenting to this agency, and you've got to be at your best. We need that day in and day out. And I know you've heard me say, and I think it was General Day who once coined the phrase, I saw you out there somewhere. Where are you? There you are. On our nation's worst day, DLA must be at its best. There's no choice there. And that's something I know this team never forgets, and I've been truly honored to be your 20th director. You know, I've had an amazing career, opportunities left and right in the Navy, and I've had incredible leaders time and again. Too many to name, and I'm not going to go into my Navy origin story, but it was kind of just that random. Some reservist started talking to me. What I didn't know is that my dad's service in the Navy, and especially on the USS Constitution, at a very influential time in my life, in my teens. That'll tell you how old I am when you look up when that was. Anyway, you know, those planted seeds I couldn't have possibly imagined. And until that day that I had that conversation, the next thing you know, I am literally in the Navy. But once I did join, you know, once the Navy took a chance on me, and they were, the recruiter said, your GPA is just not quite good enough. The female candidates at the time had a 3.85 GPA. Yikes. How many of you would not have made the cut? But I was on par with the rest of the candidates. So 35.5 years later, I would say they got a pretty good return on their investment. So many leaders saw potential and gave me a chance, and sometimes that came in the form of opportunities, and sometimes it came in the form of grace and guidance. And one such example of the grace and guidance is my first skipper, retired Navy Captain Larry King, who's here with his wife, Carol. Good to see you both. He also is a 3-star in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, past National Commodore of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. So imagine not seeing your former boss for 15, 20 years, long time. And all of a sudden we're both wearing 3 stars at a Coast Guard change of command. Oh my gosh, that was such a great surprise. But you know, as an ensign walking aboard my first ship, he was absolutely that bespoke CO that it was just what I needed. And not only would John Paul Jones himself have admired you for the mariner you were, he would have definitely admired you for the leader you were, skipper, having navigated the first mixed-gender ship into war, the first Gulf War. And that was prior to repeal of the Combat Exclusion Law in 1993 that had previously barred women from serving in combat. And thankfully, in my case, he could discern errors from malice. any help this junior officer learned, and your guidance shaped my career from that point forward, sir. So the back of the program is for you, Skipper. And many others took a chance over the years. I'm going to try to truncate my remarks because I'm only about 10% through. The folks like Captain Rick Boyd, a DLA alum who recently passed, Rear Admiral Ray Archer, a DLA alum. He took some chances on me in providing opportunities. Bruce Felina, who was a SES at NavAir, who needed a deputy in contracting, and I had none. And he accepted me, and so 3 years at NavAir, I actually had some experience in contracting. So I appreciate that. And then way back, literally 20 years ago, then Captain Mark Heinrich, who became DLA Aviation and DLA J3 and Chief Number 46, he chose me to be his deputy at SurfPac, and then later recruited me to DLA Aviation, even though he wasn't going to be there. And that definitely, as my first tour at DLA, was a stepping stone to today. So, boss, thank you for all of that. And the list goes on, including Rear Admiral Dan Stone, another DLA alum, who chose me to go to the aircraft carrier George H.W. Bush. I had done aviation tours, but never served on a carrier, so it's very avant-garde to pick a supply officer to go to a carrier. It happens, but it happens rarely, and I was really grateful for that opportunity to be the first suppo on the George H.W. Bush. And I had amazing skipper, Kevin O'Flaherty, Oaf, and I had a great assistant supply officer, none other than Captain Danny King, who's lieutenant commander at the time. Where are you, Danny? There you are. Thank you for coordinating my retirement ceremony today. And thanks to all those leaders who took a chance on me and provided that grace and guidance that shaped my career. And candidly, all of us should aspire to be those door openers when we see potential, even if it isn't the most obvious move. So, my Navy Supply Corps flags, active, retired, reserve. Raise your hands. Okay, come on, seriously. Okay, yes, thank you. Grateful to all of you, to have served with all of you, and I appreciate the enduring friendships. I treasure them. And I look forward to being part of the old guard with all of you and all the other supply officers. Where are the supply officers? All of you. Hoorah! All right, thanks for being here. It was my distinct honor to be your chief, number 48. I treasure the relationships, I treasure the memories, and I'm so proud of all of you. I will say to Chief number 50, Ken Epps, Rear Admiral Ken Epps, I appreciate you reinforcing the transparency and positive teamwork between NAVSEP and DLA. Like General Williams, you know we're always better when we work together. So many senior enlisted leaders and troops that I've been honored to lead alongside. Chief Dyer, sorry, I wish we had more time. But you know what? I was supposed to be gone before you got here. So I guess it was all extra innings and great. So it's good to have you on the team. I know you'll be a wonderful leader alongside General Simerly. There's been other great senior enlisted leaders like Master Chief Pickering, Master Chief Myrick, Master Chief Wright. And then I've got a couple of extraordinary sisters in arms. I haven't seen them, so I don't know if they're here. Master Chief Howe, Master Chief, Sergeant Major O'Neill. There's Master Chief Howe. Oh, all right, you two, I know you guys know each other. You need to find each other. Anyway, these senior leaders, you both motivated me so much. I was honored to serve with both of you. You really did inspire me every day, and that's not just because you both jumped out of airplanes. I've got lifelong friends here. Again, too many to name, but you know, Ruth Christopherson was on my first ship, Acadia, under Captain King. You're a few aisles off of each other. You'll see each other later. But Ruth became my maid of honor and is now an enduring friend, and I look forward to visiting you and Al, a DLA alum, in Washington sometime soon. By the way, you're only 40 minutes from Michelle and Tori, so I figured that one out. That's good. Side boy number 8. Kristen Aquavella is the one person besides my cousin-in-law, Matt, who has known my kids longer than family. Auntie Kay, Auntie Kristen. But, you know, that's what happens when you're stationed overseas. It's your teammates that are your family. And so thanks for being a side boy. You represent a lot friendship, Navy, Navy supply, DLA, regional commands, so much, so, and you, once upon a time, 25 some odd years ago, almost hung up your cleats. I don't know that everybody knows that. And I might have been just a little influential in encouraging you to stay, but it wasn't really me. It was your love of the Navy and the team that kept you playing on the field. So glad you stayed, Navy. I know Anson would approve. Tracy Govan, I have not seen you. Tracy, where are you? Did she not make it? Oh, all right. A dear friend. She's my oldest and dearest friend. She's known me since those awkward teenage years, so you could have, asked her all about that. Michelle Nixon, I saw you and Tori over there. Tracy, there you are. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I skipped the other part, so we're going to leave it to history. But thank you and Tom for being here, and 143. So Michelle and Tori here from Washington, thanks for being here, and I know how much you love to fly. So, and it was big. Michelle and I met 32 years ago, and we were instant forever friends, sisters from different misters, as we say. And, over the years, over the time zones, we've chatted across the oceans when one or the other of us was in labor, 2 a.m., whatever, because the guys were sleeping. It doesn't get any closer than that. Thanks for being here. And Tori, go 49ers. You didn't wear the ring, did you? Yeah, okay. Now they're wondering. But, and good friends beget good friends, through Mark Heinrich, I met Honorable Estevez and Susan Pearson, and now we're friends. And I can't wait for the next dinner adventure. Commander Teddy Dyson retired. I know I saw her back there. Teddy and I knew each other a little bit in the early years, but we became post-grad twins. We had identical schedules in Naval Postgraduate School, and during those 18 months became dear friends and soon-to-be neighbors, which is even better. And because of one super connector, who isn't here, his name's Eddie Papson. If you ever meet him, you will magnify your friend base by 20. I was taking some takeout in uniform during COVID, trying to rush in and out. That whole don't talk to me people. And this gentleman engaged me in conversation because I was in uniform. And anyway, because of that little moment, and I had that opportunity to meet Eddie, I've met his wife, Nina Armagno, Lieutenant General Nina Armagno, Space Force retired. She's back there. Their neighbor at the time, Susan's next to her, and then a friend, Tom Goffis, who's over at NATO. For a while, the 5 of us were a COVID pod, right? We were our own little extended family, and then through him and them, I literally have counted. I have 20 additional friends that I have a different relationship with because of Eddie. And I am so grateful that I chose takeout that night. And the list goes on. So many friends that I can't name, and some of them that I'd even plan crazy future trips with. You know who you are. I'm looking. There's one of them. One crazy friend. Anyway, all right, we're getting close, folks. There's a long list of wonderful people who have worked in the Shark Tank, my front office. The XOs, the chiefs of staffs, the aides, the admin assistants, and more. And gosh, they were all selfless, juggling ridiculous amounts of details and schedules and flights and, reminding me what uniform to wear the next day. That sounds easy, but when you have 50 other things demanding your time, it is such a hard job. And all of you are just amazing professionals, leaders in your own right. They all made the job and me better. Autumn Daniel, I saw you. Where are you? There you are. Autumn was the first aide at Atlanta Maritime, and she set the bar high. After that, Josh, Tammy, Brian, Lauren. Lauren made the transfer from SUP to here at DLA, which was huge help for me. David, Laura, and finally, the overtime aide, Justin. I'm truly indebted to all of you for your support of me and the mission through the years. And I look forward to watching your continued successes, all of you. I think Lauren is the only one that got away from Navy. Lauren, where are you? Did they make it? Oh, yeah, because she has a baby. Oh. So that's what I was going to say. She moved on to a lovely life with Trevor and little Bree. So you can all tell her I mentioned her. Others across the front offices, JD, Madot, Jay, Justin Lewis, Sam, Jean, Mint, and Stephanie. I saw a bunch of you. If I didn't mention you, I'm sorry. These teams were always first class. And now, as you can imagine, these military jobs are backbreakers, right? Those of you who've done them, you know. And that's why they're usually only 1 year long. You can only run a thoroughbred for so many hours before they finally collapse. But our current XO, Colonel Javi Brunson, where are you? Hey, did he step out too? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. By the way, another great example of Army talent. He was kind enough to stay for a second year, and that is just so great, both for me, it has been, and for General Simerly. So thank you. You're masterful as a leader, as a teammate, and as a human. And I look forward to seeing what's ahead for you, Javi. And then there's this group we called ourselves the Originals. It was Tammy, Tim, Tom, me, rounded out by Jess and Sarah. And you all made some really hard work incredibly fun. And I think we have the best birthday ball pictures ever. We tried to outdo them every time. And I think the last one was a moving escalator, right? Taking a picture on a moving escalator. I think Chantal was at that one. But my only regret is that I did not name every one of these front office teams because they all deserved it, and they're all worth memorializing. But maybe this one's the extra inning team. I don't know. But anyway, all right, family, last bit. You know we're getting close when we're on family. And let's see if I can get through this. I'd like to thank my cousins for being here, from up in Philadelphia, from out in California, and then here in Springfield. So Denise, Heather, Cam, and Matt, thanks. There's a story. My cousin Kamala and I used to exchange some letters. So when I was stationed in Sicily, this was 94 to 97, I used to write her letters about this friend of ours, Matt, this Navy pilot, he's now retired, that I really wanted her to meet. And, so years later, they finally met, and he is now my cousin-in-law. So, and he is, like Kristen, the one who's known my kids since they were born. And anyway, she apparently still has those letters, which I think is so cool. My stepmom, Karen, is here, and she is the matriarch and dear Nana to her 3 grandkids. And, she didn't have to choose that Navy officer who had a somewhat independent and rebellious 8-year-old, but she did. And my dad and Karen shared nearly half a century together before we lost him. He's a part of us every day, and definitely here in spirit. And in fact, his 70-year-old sword will help us cut the cake later, along with General Simerly's dad's sword as well. A new tradition. And I can just imagine Dad smiling, thinking, frugal Dad, hey, you got one more use out of it. But Nana, Gov, I've got a little something for you. You can open it later. It's there, the box, the bigger one, yep. Thank you. But it is my oath of office from 1988. And it has my signature, and it has Dad's signature, my commissioning officer. Who would have ever imagined from that moment in time? Anyway, thankfully you did choose Dad because I got a few great siblings out of it. Tommy is not here. Christina, who always vied for favorite daughter status. Marrying Navy, and having a great kid, Jack. Anyway, I hope you, Virgil, and Jack make it out east sometime soon. And then there's Stephen, the youngest. Sorry to throw this on your birthday, Stephen. So happy birthday. There will be cake. And thanks to unusual fate, when I was 40, I found out long after my mother Janice had passed away that I had another brother, Bill, who had been adopted out as a baby. And so after living literally as an only child for 12 years before Tommy started showing up and the others, it turns out that I was not an only child, and I had a cool brother out there after all. So Bill, I'm glad you and Ryan could make it. Families are fascinating. Mine is no different, and I'm just grateful for that. All right, kids, my recent roommates. I knew they'd love that. But like, you know, a lot of 20-somethings, they had some roommate gaps, some lodging needs, you know, and my guest room looked like a good option. So I've got to say it's been a treat to spend extra time with both of you. And it has made all the difference as I face this pretty significant transition in my life. And, you know, like so many military kids, you've had all the stresses, new homes, new friends, new schools, new sports, and you've navigated it like champs. You had 5 schools by middle school. Fortunately, it kind of, you know, petered off after that, and you were able to stay put for a while. But, you know, you dealt with me on deployment. You dealt with my long hours. You know, it was hit or miss for me to make it to volleyball or soccer, you know, or tennis. And it was just such a joy to cheer you both on. And that includes cheering you on now. You've both flourished, and I'm so proud of you. Chantal, we call her Shawnee, so I was about to say that, but I'm just going to say it. Shawnee, you know, what you do is really a reflection of the American dream, and you're making a difference every day. Chantal works in refugee resettlement for the state of Virginia, which includes supporting, you know, Afghans who arrived through Operations Allies Welcome in 2021. You've embraced challenges and faced some serious odds, Fulbright scholar, and you found a path that is truly your own. Jake, my current roommate, he's trying to leave. You've got the biggest heart. You're so smart. I love watching and learning how you're operating in your new job. You've got more self-awareness and insight than I ever hoped to have. And recently, Jake had just gotten a brand new job in capital investments, an area he had never worked before. He'd been in the company, but he'd got a new gig. And literally within a week or two, his new boss took seriously ill and could not be part of the team. He was out of pocket for a good amount of time, and they were working on next year's budget. Imagine doing something you've never done before. You don't know anybody on the team. Well, I watched you step up. You rallied the team to get the products in, and it was masterful. I was really proud of you. I'm very proud of both of you. And I'm not sure I'd still be serving if I hadn't had the joys of being your mom all these years. It balanced out the sacrifices of being in the military, and that includes the sacrifices from both of you. So I've got a little something for you. Also, this is not just a card, so don't lose it. But I'm hoping we can plan a trip together. And you two get to decide where, so good luck with that. Maybe back to Sicily, where you were both born, or Scotland, or the Netherlands, or something fun. And then I appreciate your dad's service to our nation. Tom retired after 26 years serving in the Navy Reserves, and he had an immense commitment as your dad, and he was supportive of my career. So I'm glad that he and his wife Carol will be able to join us later this afternoon to celebrate. All right, we are truly on the home stretch. I made it through that. Wow, okay. All right, I think we're good. All right, so, you know, at the end of the day, when I look back at my career, and so many of you here who have retired already know this, and so many who will can feel it, but the highlight won't have been the what or the where, right? It will have been the who. Will have been the who. To have had the honor to have served alongside, you know, those incredible troops, young and old, those lifers and those one-hitch wonders, and those amazingly hardworking civilians, all unique in their talents and their personalities and their backgrounds, but all just amazing, tried and true patriots working together. That's what I'm going to remember. So, this is your participation part. So, Michelle, and it's Super Bowl season, so this should be your clue, right? Michelle, you've just retired from the Navy after 35 and a half years. What are you going to do next?
Go to Disney.
Nah. I'm going to go to see Taylor Swift in Sweden with Joan and a bunch of others, because I can. And I am staying local in Potomac Yard, so pondering, season tickets to the Wizards and the Capitals. Some travel on the horizon, and I'm considering taking up bowling. J9? Thank you. Anyway, there's a whole lot that I've forgotten from the decades, but one memory is burned into my history, and that is leaving my first ship. It was in Bahrain, miserably hot, like 120 degrees. I got my sea bag and, extra stuff and dragging it down, but it was tough. I was leaving my team. I had mixed emotions, I was proud. I was that salty sailor finishing my first sea tour with the Gulf War under my belt. I was sad to leave the team. They had become a family, but I was also excited for the new adventures, just like today. So you get to picture me with a full sea bag slung over my shoulder, full of some amazing memories, some heart-wrenching losses, lifelong friendships, many of them here, and pride in so many great teams and teammates that I've been honored to serve alongside. And I'm again proud, sad, and excited for the next adventure. So thank you for tolerating that very long speech. I am so grateful to each and every one of you and to the Navy, for my family and all of my friends. And I will keep you all in my thoughts and prayers in this crazy world of ours. And I will be cheering DLA and all of its amazing teammates from the sidelines. And you have my immense gratitude. Thank you for everything. God bless each and every one of you. And warfighter, always. Thank you.
Vice Admiral Skubic will now read her orders.
These orders are pretty special because they're also signed out from Admiral Lisa Franchetti, a glass ceiling breaker, the first female chief of a DoD branch. She's also a surface warfare officer like my dad was. That's pretty special. Buper's order number 4820. Official retirement orders for Vice Admiral Michelle C. Skubic, United States Navy. Effective 1 April 2024, you will be transferred to the retired list in the grade of Vice Admiral, relieved of all active duty, effective 2359, 31 March 2024. Signed, L.M. Franchetti, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. Skubic out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
For 35 years, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in our wrecks, sleeping at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were off in school, learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. And yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this shipmate stood the watch. In those years where the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this shipmate stood the watch. There would be times when she would cast an eye ashore and see her family standing there, needing help, needing guidance, needing that hand to hold during those hard times. But still, she stood the watch. She stood the watch for 35 years so that we, our families, and fellow countrymen could sleep safe and soundly each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today we're here to say, shipmate, you stand relieved. Relieved by those you've trained, relieved by those you've guided, relieved by those you've led. Ma'am, you stand relieved. We have the watch.
Bosun, post the side, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the departure of this outstanding officer. Vice Admiral Skubic will now request permission to go ashore.
Permission granted.
Vice Admiral Michelle C. Skubic, United States Navy retired, will now be piped ashore, accompanied by her daughter and son. Vice Admiral, United States Navy retired, and family departing. Bosun, retire the side boys. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the departure of the official party in the first 3 rows in the center section. Then I'm going to ask you to stay in your seats for just a few more moments while the official party conducts a cake cutting in the rotunda. At this time, I invite the remainder of the official party and guests in the first 3 rows in the center section to depart to the rotunda. Thank you.